Evet, aslında benim sunumum aslında yeniden inşa etmek mi, güçlendirmek mi? Bizim Kahramanmaraş merkezinde yaptığımız bir çalışmayı sunacağım. Sunum aslında İngilizce hazırlandı ama siz herhalde göremiyorsunuz. Belki İngilizce devam etmekte uygun olabilir diye düşünüyorum. So I'm going to present like a possibility of reconstruction or retrofit strategies for the earthquake performance, to improve the earthquake performance of Kahramanmaraş City Center. So you can see the photo of me here. So we were in the like a earthquake site at the third day of the earthquakes. So I just visited the more than hundreds of buildings, and our team just investigated more than 2,000 buildings, and we just make damage assessment. Our duty was to find the buildings which has no problem, because as you also mentioned before that there was a huge need for the building. So our duty was mainly find the good buildings, not the bad ones. Okay, you can see we just talked about that, but there was a big 2 earthquakes in one day. And the one important parameter here is that the acceleration was quite large. It just exceeded 2G, and we have more than 50,000 people lost. You can see the photo here, and this is just before earthquake and after earthquakes, and you can see that the heavily damaged building just demolished following days of the earthquakes. So you already know the destruction, but I just want to show you a map. You can see the map on the graph on the left side. You can see the red part of the cities shows that the buildings has heavy or more damage. If there is more than 10,000 buildings in that region, that you can see that the destruction is quite large. As you see here, the building stock is quite similar around the area. If the building density is large, then the damage is also large. So these are the acceleration response of the spectral acceleration response for the buildings. Red line shows the target level, and we can see that the individual ground motion exceeds. This means that even the building designed, very new designed building, we can accept damage. Also, we know that most of the buildings has not properly designed. So, for our case, we investigated more than 17,000 buildings in the city of Kahramanmaraş. So these buildings was constructed before 2000, and those was RC buildings, and all of them was low-rise, which means that the story number is lower than 10. So this is the statistic for the buildings we investigated. The most of them is like between the 1 and 3 story. And so these are the actual damage. More than 16% of the buildings has heavy or more damage, which means some of them collapse, some of them should be urgently demolished. But the increasing number of stories also increases the damage states. So this is the situation in the Kahramanmaraş City Center. And if you look at how the effect was like a construction year, and you can see there is no correlation because of that 2000, they're all old buildings. There is no actually strong correlation about the year, which means that our construction practice before 2000 is not similar and not so good. So we make as one assumption. So we think that there are some similarities between Istanbul and Turkey. So this is the first similarity. There are fault distance quite similar to Istanbul and Turkey, which is very close to city. Another similarity is that building stock and the year, age, and we have also another similarity is that soil condition with Istanbul. We are using these similarities because we have data from Istanbul. They previously investigated 30,000 building data from Istanbul. This graph shows that probability of exceedance curve compared to first mode spectral shape, which means that if we know the buildings period and the first mode spectral acceleration, we can assume that expected damage, expected risk classification. So we have 5 risk class here. It starts from A and goes to A. And we have also safety ratio, which means 100 means that it can resist expected lateral force, 100%. If it cannot resist 100%, for example, if it can resist lower than 25%, we say that this is high risk building. So we have some algorithms here. First thing, we found that total damage estimated. We just estimated total damage. We found that around 3,000 buildings has A class, which means very high risk. And actual damage was in Kahramanmaraş city center was around 2,700 buildings, which is quite close with these very rough estimations. So we found this one. We can estimate the total damage. Secondly, we would like to, we know the total damage estimation, but which buildings? So we just propose a regional inspection prioritization. So in that case, as you see in this graph, we just identify regions to investigate first, because we think that in that red colors, which is highest priority regions, will have some buildings, more probability of building will be collapse in the following earthquakes. As you can see in the right graph, if we investigate only 25% of the buildings, we can find that more than 50% of building that has heavy or more damage. So this information is quite important because you cannot reconstruct every buildings. You have no such kind of financial force in any world, in any country of the world. So that's why we need to select which one we will reconstruct or we are going to retrofit. Our findings says that, you can see the graph B, and if we only increase the seismic performance of the buildings which has low seismic performance, which will be collapsed, because the important part of here is that because the buildings are older than 25 years old and they are prior to constructed 2000, if you do follow the like a code level performance evaluations, all of them should be retrofitted, but you cannot do that. That's why we just intervene only the highest priority. So our finding find that if we only intervene the buildings with a very high risk, then you can decrease the post earthquake losses up to 70%. So this is the existing building strategies to improve the performance, but in which level you are expecting. So this is the conventional methods that you can design your buildings. We have some criteria: stiffness, strength, ductility. If you buy a new building today, after a major earthquake like this, you can expect some damage. So this is normal. This is design criteria. But you don't have to do this one. You can define the damage in other places other than beam and columns. Like here, if I use some damage tolerant design concept, I can define the building's damage on some braces or some other elements. I just show these braces for example, but I will also show you some solution we just developed in Tokyo during my PhD. This is some test we did. But for this test, we are using some additional damper devices to define the damage. In that case, you can replace these kind of devices when earthquakes happen, and you will have no damage. So we just make some numerical analysis that we found that if you use this kind of devices, there will be no residual deformations, which means that building recenter after the earthquake. So finally, I would like to mention a couple of things. So first, it is possible to estimate the future damage, and it's also possible to make which part is high priority, and also we should also think the retrofit as an option, because you have no a financial power to reconstruct everything. Also, you don't have to do this. And secondly, you also need to think the performance level. You would like to have accept damage, post-earthquake damage, or you would like to keep going without any damage. Thank you very much.